know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K23. BJ Armstrong and Mo Mootsie here, once again, talking all things NBA. BJ, the season's hotting up.
Love it.
The season's hotting up.
It is. Is it? Okay. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Now, I usually watch all the games, but as you guys know, I've been a little bit under the weather recently. So I was watching the Celtics versus Lakers the other night, and the Celtics were up like 20 points.
The game was watching you. The game was watching you. You were watching the game.
So the C's are up by like 20 points at halftime. And I thought, you know what? I don't feel very well. We're up 20. What could go wrong? I'm going to go to sleep. I fall asleep. And 1 minute after I fall asleep, my phone starts ringing. BJ Armstrong. You watching? The Lakers cut the lead down. They, in fact, took the lead. And it went to overtime. Moral of the story is just don't sleep. Watch every single game. But if you can't afford to watch every single game because you have to sleep like a normal human, listen to the Hoop Genius podcast because we'll tell you everything you need to know about the NBA. BJ, what did you learn from that game? Because the Celtics went on this little West Coast road trip. And, the Warriors, they played maybe their best game of the season. They really got up for it. Finals rematch. The best team in the NBA is coming to town. They're up for it. They're playing like it's almost a playoff game with the intensity they came out with. The Lakers-Celtics rivalry. The Lakers have been playing a little bit better. LeBron's in the lineup. AD's in the lineup. They got up for it as well. Well, not in the first half. But it was a tough little stretch for the Celtics. But what have you seen? Because it was quite funny. After we released an episode where we spoke about the Celtics, and I titled it, How the Celtics are Dominating the NBA, they went and lost to the next 2 games in a row. So I'm glad they got back on track last night. Jason Tatum, clutch, big-time player. For me, he's the MVP right now. Giannis is there. Embiid's back in the conversation. Zion is in the conversation. Devin Booker is out of the conversation. But Tatum, for me, is the MVP right now. But what have you seen from this little road trip from the Celtics?
Well, the Celtics are a very, very good basketball team. Make no doubt about it. They are in the upper echelon of the NBA. I thought with that Golden State game, they had an opportunity to really make a statement throughout the league to say we are the best team in the NBA. However, that didn't happen. So they left the door open, however so slight, but it's open. And then they follow that up with they just didn't play well. I don't want to say it's horrific. I'm not trying to over dramatize it, but it was a poor performance in LA versus the Clippers. They follow that up with the Lakers. And I called you before the game and I said, you know what? We're going to learn a lot about this Boston team. Because the last time they lost 3 in a row, I believe was in the NBA Finals. Not to remind you of last year. That was good. Mo, that was good. That was good, Mo. Come on, Mo.
I was having a bad day. I didn't need that too.
I'm just pulling up facts. But to their credit, they found a way to win this game. Now, the Lakers, on the other hand, clearly you saw that there was a difference in the talent as far as the depth with the teams, right? You got the big 2 or big 3, however you want to put it there in LA. And you could see at the beginning of the game, you say, oh, this Laker team is not as talented as a team as that other team. However, when the Lakers do play together and they find a way to play, because they play, they can come back and play with anybody. They
had a 33-point swing. They came back from 20 down and went up 13. How'd you lose a game like that?
Yeah, okay. Well, I happen to have watched that game. I rewatched it. And then you say, when they do play and they play through Anthony Davis, you're kind of thinking like they can play with anybody. And then at the end of the game, when it was time to win the game, you watch the team just, I mean, it was just, well, it was unbelievable to watch. And it wasn't like they gave it away. It was just, they just couldn't close it, right? And the height of that collapse in the fourth quarter or in the overtime was Anthony Davis missing 2 free throws with about 11 seconds to go. And it was just it was such a swing of emotions because you started off bad. You have this incredible comeback and the place was rocking. They're going crazy, right? I mean, AD's dunking and LeBron is shooting threes and Russ had like 4 blocks. Russ had a terrific game, by the way, last night. And then all of a sudden it's total silence in the arena. I mean, it just, and you could tell the guys, and the one thing I did like about the game, it was a back and forth game. It wasn't a well-played game, but it was a back and forth game. It was some awful mistakes on both sides. But it was a tough loss for the Lakers because those guys played a lot of minutes. I mean, LeBron and AD, I don't think they came out in the entire fourth quarter or overtime. Both guys had to play over 40 minutes. I didn't look at the stats. So you don't know how their bodies are going to respond back because they left everything there. And I think the Lakers needed that game. They needed to know that they could play against the elite teams in the NBA. It was a kind of a measuring game for themselves. And I give those guys credit. They fought, Mo. They really did. Youth was served, though, with those young guys. I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, they just, they just keep playing. And, when you're young, you can just keep playing through mistakes. So good win for the Celtics. However, the Celtics tried to give it away. Bo, they reverted back to last year. Okay. So they still have to go back to how they played in the past. But on this occasion, they came up with the win, and a very nice win, I might add, on the road.
I mean, I'm glad they pulled it out because that would have been pressure losing 3 straight. So shout out to the C's. You said the best team in the NBA title was up for grabs, and Milwaukee played against Golden State and absolutely demolished them. That game there, Giannis doing what he does, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez. Man, that was a great performance from Milwaukee. If we don't get the Bucks Cavs and we get the Bucks Celtics, I'm kind of worried. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of worried. What else have you seen around the NBA, BJ, that's standing out to you right now?
Well, I did, happen to see that Bucks game, and Jrue Holiday didn't play. But I don't know what to make of the Bucks because they are just there. They are just there, and it doesn't matter if Middleton is out. It doesn't matter if Jrue Holiday is out. As long as Giannis is in the lineup, they have a chance. Mm-hmm. They have a chance. So that's all I want to say about them. Philly's playing a little better.
Embiid's on a tear.
Embiid is, as rounding into shape right about now. Give him about 30 games to kind of get himself under, to get his rhythm, get his legs up under him. He's playing well. It's pretty quiet. I think, I think what most of us NBA fans are looking forward to is the Christmas Day games. I think that's the next big thing that we can discuss or that we're all anticipating. And, Mo, it's been good, though. I don't think there's anything big going on right now, but I want to say this. I think the Bucks and your Celtics are the best 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. They may be the best 2 teams in the league right now. I mean, New Orleans will have something to say about that. Even though Golden State's record probably doesn't indicate that, I think they still the if someone beats them. Memphis, Denver. So there's quite a few teams, but right now the Bucks and the Celtics to me look like the 2 top tier teams at the moment.
And speaking of Philly, James Harden had a nice game. He had 20 points, 15 assists, and 5 steals. The last players to do that was James Harden last night, James Harden in 2022, James Harden in 2018, and James Harden in 2017. No one's done it since 2015 except for James Harden. So if those guys can get running at the same time and find that chemistry and they get Maxey back as well, could be a problem in that conversation in the Eastern Conference. Embiid is almost averaging 40 points in the month of December so far. which is quite staggering.
That's pretty impressive.
This MVP race, BJ, is going to come down to the wire, I believe. It's going to be a very close race this year because there's so many names that could be involved. Who are you liking for that at the moment? Because I already told you I'm thinking Tatum.
Well, I mean, listen. You know, you have a bunch of names, but the name that's been there throughout the entire time is Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Giannis' name has been there. So, you know, Jason Tatum, I thought, had an opportunity against the Golden State Warriors to really put his stamp on that. I thought he was, you know, and listen, he's still in the race. I think he's in the top 3. Okay, you know, and I don't have, you know, whether it's Tatum. There's 3 guys right now to me are vying for the MVP. If you ask me today, you have Zion, you have Jason Tatum, and you have Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the 3 guys, or 3 leaders now, given or take. But from the start till now, Giannis has been there from day one. The other guys, you know, they peaked into it. You know, we talked about Devin Booker, maybe, you know, just a week or 2 ago. And, you know, some other guys, you know, we probably could have, you know, said
Anthony Davis had some shouts.
Maybe had a chance. Anthony Davis, yeah, that's another name. But Giannis has been there. Jason Tatum, they have the best record in the league. And Zion is the best record over there in the Western Conference. So those are the 3 right now, if you ask me, who's in the MVP race.
Do you think Brandon Ingram coming back to the New Orleans Pelicans, because he's been out with injury, do you think his return is going to affect New Orleans? You know, they're on a roll. Do you think they're just going to get even better, or do you think that's going to disrupt things a little bit?
Well, he's a talent. So when you have a player like that, you have to integrate his talent back into the fold. And right now, they're playing a really good brand of basketball. But they won't be a better team. You know, they're not going to be. You can't tell me that with the addition of Brandon Ingram, they won't be better. So I think will it be an adjustment for the team? Absolutely, because someone's got to go back to the bench, play it, and accept and thrive in a different role. I think Brandon Ingram is going to have to figure out his role playing with Zion, because those guys haven't played a lot of basketball over the last 2 years. So I think that's going to take some time. But I think once they work that out, I think they're going to be a really, really good team. I mean, they are currently a really good team. Zion has been terrific. I think Zion is playing the game at a very high level. I love what Coach Willie Green is doing with him, moving him around the court, letting him play the 4, letting him play the 5, and just his activity level, how aggressive he's playing on the offensive end, to me has been that's a credit to the coaching and knowing your talent and knowing how to maximize that talent for the individual to thrive, but more importantly for the team to thrive. So it's been a good combination. I know they had a, you know, not taking away anything from Utah. That was, you know, you would expect New Orleans to beat Utah, but Utah's a very good team, especially at home. They have an opportunity to redeem themselves. I think that game is tonight, I believe. I think that game is tonight. And we'll see how that turns out. But I really like what New Orleans is doing. And I think the addition of Brandon Ingram should help them and give them another score, give them more length. And it's definitely going to create a mismatched nightmare for opposing teams with his return back to the lineup. I'm
excited to see the inverted screen roll action with Zion as the ball handler and Brandon Ingram coming and setting some screens. We see him do it with CJ sometimes, but Brandon Ingram getting some attacking off the catch on a closeout. You know, I'm intrigued to see how this is. How concerned should we be about the Phoenix Suns, who are on a 5-game losing streak right now?
The Suns right now, you know, they have some issues, right? And it started off early with Jay Crowder not being with the team. And that was this appears to be, or reported to be, there was an internal decision made by their front office and coaching staff that it was best for Jay Crowder not to be with the team. So they're down, you know, a starter. I mean, a significant starter. I mean, here's a guy this is a really high quality player. Then all of a sudden, Cam Johnson, right, gets hurt. He's out with a knee injury. Then Chris Paul is out with an injury. He's just returned back to the lineup. Devin Booker now is out for the last 2 or 3 games.
Are you worried about Chris Paul?
And I'm not worried about Chris Paul. What I'm worried about is, Mo, is the depth of this team. I mean, at some point, you hear me say it, and I think other people in the NBA, you need depth to get through the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, they're running out of able quality body to get out there and play at the level that they want to play at. So at some point here, I would think they're going to have to do something with Jay Crowder. Now, as they get more and more injuries, or let's hope they don't get more injuries, but if they continue on this path, they'll get more what other teams will interpret as desperation to do something.
Yeah, because they had a bad loss at the Houston Rockets, the worst team in the West, and Ayton and Bridges both left the game with injuries, I believe.
Yeah, so which will force them to make some type of deal because they're just going to need able bodies to play. So I like the team. However, they've had a tough stretch. I think they are, they'll bounce back. They have professionals. But Mo, is not looking good for them right now, just because they don't have the depth that's necessary to play at the level I know where they're trying to play. They're trying to win the whole thing. They're not just trying to get to the playoffs. They're not just trying to possibly, get the right matchup to advance to the second round. This is a team that really feel last year and coming into this season that they have an opportunity to win the whole thing. And certainly just 2 weeks ago, Mo, they were sitting at the top of the Western Conference. And now things have changed. And as we say in the NBA, things change very quickly here.
Do you think that they'll be the first team to make a move? Because in the NBA, we often see a lot of teams holding out, and then when one team makes a trade, it's kind of a domino effect for other teams to get the ball rolling in motion for other pieces to be moved around the league.
I think Jay Crowder's situation is going to have to be resolved. And the reason I say that is because you have a really good player that they could use right now, and you can't tell me he couldn't help them win games right now if he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because of their situation and because of their health, right? I mean, they have some guys that are out. If they continue down this path, Mo, we could be looking at maybe not getting to the playoffs. So I think they are going to be active. And that's a real possibility that they may make the first move because they get something in return for Jay Crowder. They just can't let him walk away for nothing.
They need to. And I think they need to do it soon. I think they're holding off until, January. DeAndre Ayton can start to be traded again if they're looking at him as a piece to move. But he's kind of stepped up when Booker's been out a little bit. So we'll see what happens with that. One stat that I just saw that made me a little bit happy about the Celtics game. Last night was the second time the Lakers have blown a double-digit lead with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter this season. The rest of the NBA combined has only done that twice this entire season. So as much as the Lakers can get back into games, they've got the talent to play, their lack of depth really means that you saw it in the overtime. LeBron and AD just really have nothing left in the tank once it gets into the overtime period of play or late in the fourth quarter because they have to do so much just to even stay in the game.
Well, I'll say this. I've been following the Lakers because they were on an East Coast swing. So I was able to watch them much earlier because they normally come on, later in the evening here. So I've been watching them closely. The Lakers are a fascinating team because they don't play like everyone else in the NBA. They just, because of shooting, they don't have premier shooting on this team. But what they do have is they have a player that can really affect the game on the low post, and that's Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And they depend on him getting the ball and demanding a double team and then, passing it out and getting open shots. Now, it's kind of a old school way of playing. When I say old school, it's a traditional way of playing. However, in today's game, it's not until you get to the playoffs. So, and what I'm saying by that is Anthony Davis and the way he plays, okay, it forces them to really only have two options to score. Either they shoot threes, which they aren't really good at, right, percentage-wise, or they get it to Anthony Davis. But there's nothing else in between. It's not like they're a screen roll team. It's not like they are a drive and kick team. It's not like they're an isolation team. So when you defend those two positions, right, when you defend the post well and you close out to them on the three-point line and you don't have to compromise your defense, it really limits their way to score, especially late in the games as the defense turns up. That's what you see, and that's what you saw last night. I mean, they just went after Anthony Davis. They closed down the lobs. They really tightened up their defense. And then they didn't just run out. They just didn't run out or overextend on the closeouts. So now the Lakers were forced to take up really difficult shots, and they weren't able to convert those. And so I think getting a little bit more variety, but when I look at their roster, I go, I don't think they have anything else really to go to. You know what I mean? But you need to have more options than what they're showing right now.
You heard Coach Mazzulla say in a timeout, don't worry about their shooters. Let them shoot and we'll live with it. And
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's good coaching. You gotta, you can't take away everything. And if you take away everything, you become good at nothing. Just take away one thing and live with the results. And I respect that. So, everyone after those first 2 games, talking about Coach Mazzulla and all those things, listen, he's put these guys in position to win these games. The players have to go out there and execute and give those players credit. When things going well and they're in first place, they deserve all the credit. But when it goes bad, you just can't say, oh, the coach gets out coached. No, those guys, everyone got to take their responsibility. And I love the fact that Coach Mazzulla has given them, a game plan to go out there and win. Now, the players got to go out there and execute it and give those guys credit. In the last 4 minutes or so of the game and in overtime, they really played a Celtic brand of basketball. They were tentative. They were high energy. And what they did? They started playing with better energy on the offensive end because this team has really slowed down again. You've been watching them the last 2 or 3 games. They've really kind of, they had such a nice offensive pace early in the season. Well, they've really slowed down now for whatever the reason may have been. I think it's probably they've been on the road now for quite some time. They haven't had a lot of practice time. So it'd be good for them to get back home, get a practice or 2 under their belt, and really kind of clean up some things. But give them credit. They fought that game. They could have easily said this is the last game on the trip and just want to go home. But they gutted it out, and that was a good win for them.
Yeah, the season, their offense was all about, making the extra pass, getting wide open threes, etc. And that kind of slowed down on this trip. But they went 4-2 on their road trip. They beat the Nets, they beat the Raptors, they demolished the Suns, lost against the Warriors and Clippers, and then they beat the Lakers. So they got to be feeling pretty good. I think they got 7 games coming up at home now coming up. So I think they'll be able to pick up some W's whilst they're at home, can get back to their routines. It was a tough schedule. Going all the way from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast.
4-2 is pretty darn good. That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good, especially when they're playing back-to-backs. We talked about the impact of playing the Clippers and then playing the Lakers the night after. That's not an easy task for any team, no matter how the Clippers and the Lakers are playing at the time. But it's going to be interesting to see as the season continues. I'm very excited for Christmas. We've got about 10 days left until the Christmas Day fixtures. We'll talk about them a little bit closer to the time. But I can't wait. Because Christmas, and then we're going to have Paris, and then we're going to have All-Star, and then before you know it, the playoffs are going to be here. So I'm ready, BJ, and hopefully the new year we'll be back on the TV as well. I know the people have been blowing up the timeline, asking us to come back.
Yes, they have. Yes,
it's all love. We appreciate all of you guys who keep tweeting. We'll be back. We're trying to get back as soon as we can. It's out of our control, but hopefully we'll be back soon. But until then, you got to stay locked into the podcast because this is the only place where you can keep up with the best in the biz, everything you need to know from around the NBA. So make sure you guys are subscribed and all that good stuff. Make sure you don't go anywhere and don't miss an episode. We'll be back tomorrow with some more NBA talk. Most importantly, until next time, get buckets.